Hi there, this is Denise Wakeman, your guide and host for Adventures in Visibility, and I want to welcome you here with me today. I'm very excited because I have a friend and colleague who I've known since I think 2006. That's a long time in internet years, and we are going to be providing you some very interesting tips about how to use Pinterest with dull, yucky, or academic subjects. And I also think that this is a really good tip for non-visual businesses, that businesses that aren't inherently visual. So my guest today is Joan Stewart. She's also known as the Publicity Hound. And I'm pretty excited about this. On the last hangout I did with Mike Alton, she contacted me afterwards and said, I've got this really cool thing that I've been doing with Pinterest that's giving me really high search engine rankings on Google+, and I want to, would you be interested in hosting me on Adventures in Visibility? And I said, hey, heck yes, let's go. It's a great way to get visibility using Pinterest, and what Joan is going to show you is a really, really cool tip. While you're watching, listening, what you can do is you can post questions in the comments below. Also, feel free to add your URL to your Pinterest account or a board that you like that you are working on, and that way we can all check it out afterwards. So now it is my pleasure to introduce Joan Stewart, aka the Publicity Hound. Welcome, Joan. How are you today?
I am not showered, I'm not made up, and my hair looks horrible. We probably need to tell, now the professionals would never do this, but I feel the need to explain. I have been hassling with technology problems for about the last 2 hours, and we finally got this to work. So what you see on your screen is not anything like the avatar that you see on Google+.
Well,
but it's great to be here anyway.
Yeah, we're glad you're here. And if you could just start off before we jump into the whole Pinterest thing, if you could just give a couple of sentences, 1 or 2 minutes about your background, so people know who you are and what you do if they're not familiar with you yet.
Sure. I'm Joan Stewart, aka the Publicity Hound, and I'm an old newspaper editor. I got into this almost 20 years ago after having worked for 22 years as a newspaper reporter and editor, and I got out almost 2 decades ago just in time, because what's happening to newspapers. They're going into the graveyard. And so I've been doing internet marketing for almost 20 years, and when I started, I taught people primarily how to get publicity in traditional media. But the traditional media is not as relevant as it used to be, because we now have this thing called social media, which lets us create our own media outlets. We can create our own media empires. And you know what? If we get publicity in traditional media, that's just gravy.
Absolutely. I'm totally with you there. I love that media empire. My partner on The Future of Ink, Ellen Britt, who's in the audience right now, we have our Future of Ink site, and we talk about it as creating your digital empire, which is basically digital media, right?
Yes.
So Pinterest is one of those really cool digital media sites that allows you to create really exciting visual images to help your customers, clients, friends, family, whoever it is, know what you're interested in, what your business is doing. And that is why we're here today, because you have come up with a tactic that allows businesses that don't have very visual topics to actually get a lot of traffic from Pinterest. So I'm going to turn it over to you now, because I know you're going to do some screen sharing, and I'll jump in if I have a question. How's that?
Okay, that's a real good. A full disclosure right up front, I need to tell you this right up front. I would love to be able to take credit for this great idea and tell you that it came from my brain, but it didn't. I was in a mastermind group with Don Crowther. He was our coach, and he sort of threw this idea out. This was about 2 years ago, and I thought, yeah, gee, that sounds good. I think I'll try it, and I tried it, and it has been working fabulously. So the idea comes from the brain, at least, of Don Crowther, and I ran with it and made it work, and I have been absolutely delighted with the results. My board gets the #1 organic ranking on Google for the keyword phrase free publicity, and it's been that way for the last several months, and I that's why I don't want to do anything differently on Pinterest. I want to sort of keep everything the way it is, because I don't have to buy traffic. And the cool thing about this is my Pinterest board outranks my own website.
Wow.
I think that's amazing. So let's start by talking about why is that? Why does Google love Pinterest more than it loves my own website? So let me give you a couple of statistics to sort of put this in perspective for you. Pinterest is the 3rd largest social media site, behind, I believe it's Facebook and YouTube. In 2012, this was last year, Pinterest was the 4th largest traffic referrer for all U.S. websites.
Wow, 4th
Think
largest.
about that.
Okay.
I think that's an incredible. Yes, the 4th largest. In 2012, the views quadrupled from 9 to 40 million. That's 40 million, and that was in 2012. I'll bet now in 2013 it is way more than that. And from 2011 to 2012, traffic increased more than 5,000%. So Google sees Pinterest as very, very relevant. Denise, this figure blows me away. 69% of online consumers who visit Pinterest have found an item that they have purchased.
Holy cow. Okay. So guys out there, guys and gals out there, pay attention to Pinterest.
And you know, when we all got on this site, we were all just fascinated by all the beautiful photos of strapless wedding gowns and lavender wedding cakes and stiletto heels and six-pack abs and sunsets and cute kittens. And there's a columnist for the Washington Post who wrote about Pinterest, and you know what she called it? She called it digital crack for women.
Oh, that's good.
And it is, because I have found myself at 2 o'clock in the morning, it's like a drug. You get on it and you can't get away from it. And the cool thing is, a lot of us are whipping out our credit cards and we're buying things on Pinterest. So this is why Google loves Pinterest so much. Not only does it get good traffic, but people love it and they're buying. Okay, so what if you have a not so sexy topic? What if your topic happens to be jock itch or bad breath or something really academic? How do you illustrate those with photos? Well, you don't. You illustrate them with simple images that are really nothing more than vertical PowerPoint slides, and each slide has a helpful tip on how to solve a problem that is the topic of your Pinterest board. That's it. All you're doing on Pinterest is you're not sharing pretty pictures. You don't have to go hunting for anything. You are simply creating vertical PowerPoint slides, or you can do it in really any image creating program that you want to. I know, Denise, you use a lot of different ones. PowerPoint works for me. It's real simple. My board is really Spartan, and I'll show you what it looks like in a second. But, you know, why do it the fancy way when you can do it really easy with PowerPoint? So do you want to switch over to my board, and I'll show you what it looks like?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, let's see if this works.
We did test this before, so we know that it worked. There we go. Yay.
Okay, this is my board, and I'm going to try to make this a little bit smaller so you can see more of the board.
Actually, it's getting smaller. We want to make it bigger.
Okay. Okay, you want to? Okay, is it okay now, or is it too small?
If you can make it a little bigger, that would be helpful.
Okay. Okay, is that good?
Yeah, that'll work.
Okay, this is my Pinterest board. This is it. Look how simple. Let me scroll down so you can see what it looks like. These are all PowerPoint slides, and they each have a tip on them that's related to getting free publicity, because as you can see, the name of my board is 50 Tips for Free Publicity. Okay, so here's how you do this. And I can't believe how simple this is. The way that I did it was I sat down and I wrote out maybe the first 10 tips, and I just used a Word document. And when you write a tip, you want to try to keep it pretty short. I keep mine to between 20 to 25 words, and there's a temptation to want to pack a lot of stuff onto a slide. Don't do that, because you want it to be attractive, and people are probably not going to read it if it's too jam-packed with words. So try to keep it to between even 15 words to 25 words. Ought to do it. You ought to be able to write a nice, succinct tip in each slide. What I did with each one of mine is I like to start off each tip with a verb, telling people to do something. And the couple you see on the screen here, tip number 34 is create an impressive Google Plus hover card. The next one is pitch bloggers. The next one is use Jeff Johnson's cheat sheet. And so you want to start each one with a verb, which is really a call to action. You're telling people what you want them to do. Then, when people click on the link, let me click on this one. Now notice what I did here. At the end of this tip, I said click here at the end of tip 34. And the reason I did that was, Denise, when I started on Pinterest, I didn't understand that to actually get to the website, you have to click again. In other words, I'm going to click on this.
Right.
I didn't understand that when you click on it, it opens up and then you have to click again. I was sort of stuck here. So that's why I put click here again, and hopefully people will know that they can get to the website from this. Now, notice what else I put on here. Down in the bottom right-hand corner, I put more publicity tips at publicityhound.com so that there is no confusion whatsoever about where my website is. Okay, I'm going to go back here. That's all you're doing. Now, here's the cool part. So where am I leading people, and are these images someplace else? Absolutely. Each image on this board is connected to a blog post. Okay, you with
Perfect.
me? So
yep.
let's click on this one right here. I'm going to click on this one. And then I'm going to click again. Watch what happens. I'm on a really clunky, slow laptop because I was having problems with my desktop, so I apologize for this being so slow. But here is the blog post. And it's on how to pitch the top 50 new product review bloggers. So where's the image? The image is right down below. I took the same image from Pinterest, and I simply inserted it into the blog post.
Can you scroll down a little bit? Oh, that's what you're doing.
Can you see it?
Yeah,
Can you
it's coming
see it?
up now. Yep.
See it?
Yes.
It's the same image. Okay, now, what I'm doing with my Pinterest board is I am cross-promoting, okay? From my Pinterest board, you click on an image, it brings you to the blog, but you can also do it the other way around. A lot of people, hopefully, will be landing on this blog post through the search engines. And they may have no idea that I even have a Pinterest board, because I need to get my Pinterest button up here with all the other social media buttons. So they see this thing, and they see this thing that says click here. So let's see if I did this correctly. They're going to click there, and it should take them over to the Pinterest board. Again, I'm on a really, there we go, okay?
So you're creating a loop. You're creating a loop.
Yes, you're cross-promoting so that if they come into the blog through the search engines, they can click there and come here and say, wow, there are more tips where this one came from. This is fabulous. This is really great. And then hopefully they subscribe to this board. Now I've got 2,134 followers, and that's not bad considering that this has been up only, I think, since the spring or since earlier this year, late last year. I can't remember, but I can tell you that every single time I add a pin to this board, I get all these people repinning it and all these people sharing it. Now, you may be looking at this thinking, why is the title of this board called 50 Tips for Free Publicity, and she's only got 34 tips on here? It's because I'm not even done yet. I hadn't even reached tip number 20, and this board was already ranking #1 on Google for my keyword phrase, which is free publicity. So this works, and for the longest time, I kept thinking, why does this board rank so darn high? And it wasn't until last night when I was going over this that it finally dawned on me why this is ranking so high. So this is a really important tip. I think it's ranking high for a couple of reasons. First of all, you see this right underneath the headline? This is the description on your board, on your Pinterest board, and it's really easy to give this short shrift and to throw 1 or 2 sentences up there and just be done with it. That's probably what I did the first time, and then I came back and I got smart, and I thought, aha, I want to try to throw as many keywords in here as I possibly can. So look at the keywords I've got on here. DIY free publicity. I have got PR. I've got build your company's profile. I've got, let's see, go to expert for national media. And if you go through here, I've probably got at least a dozen keywords or keyword phrases within this description. Now, I'm not stuffing it with the same keyword over and over and over again. I'm using different variations of things that I want to rank for. So I know that I read someplace, Denise, that one of the best practices is to try to keep this description to only 2 or 3 lines because more people will follow it. I wanted to use every piece of real estate that Pinterest allows me to on here. So the board name, okay, 50 Tips for Free Publicity, you are allowed up to 100 characters, but visually people can only see, I think it's 26 characters. And I have exactly 26 characters in my board title. So you can go longer, but when you go longer, they're not going to be able to see the entire title.
Okay, what do you mean? Yes, I do, but if you could explain that difference between they can't see a longer title. Where can't they see it?
Okay, they can't see it when they go to your Pinterest account. They can see all your boards, and the title is going to be at the top, and it's going to just sort of like drift off. to the
Okay.
end. The whole title is not going to show up on the top.
So you want to keep your titles to 26 characters to make sure that they all show
Yes.
the
And
whole title.
again, you're going to have to play around with it, and also make sure that your keyword phrase is in your title. Okay,
Right.
Mine is in my title, and I also have it down here someplace in the description. Here's why I think these rank so well and pull for the keyword phrase free publicity. And again, I can't believe I didn't figure this out until last night. Each one of these images is a JPEG. When you name the JPEG, I named it just like what you see here. Free publicity tip 34. Google hover card. That's the name of the image. This one is called free publicity tip 33. Pitch bloggers or blogger reviews or whatever. This one is free publicity tip 32. So Google is continuing to see that keyword phrase free publicity on all of these images.
That's a great tip, because I think a lot of people, when they create images and they take photos, I mean, this kind of goes beyond the image thing, but they just leave that funky, automatic file name for it, img2658.jpg, and really what you need to do is change the name of the image and use your keywords in that file name for that image, because that is part of what Google is reading when they are scanning over your site, indexing your site, I should say.
Correct. Exactly. Okay, so that's why I think this ranks so well. And I have to believe, too, that Google knows that I have a lot of keywords up here. Google knows everything. Face it, Google knows everything. We're put on this planet to please Google. We are. And Google probably looks at this description and they see all these publicity and media related keywords in this description, which probably gives me even more Google juice. Mm-hmm. Okay. Now, I'm going to point out something else that's really important, and it's really easy for you to give short shrift to this as well, and that is the descriptions of your pins right here.
Good. Let's talk about that.
I don't know. Okay, I don't know how much time you spend on your pin descriptions, and I would be lying to you if I told you that I did this correctly when I started out the board. You don't know this, but you know now because I'm telling you. I spent about 3 hours at this board last night getting this board all spiffed up so that it's ready for prime time. Okay, because I knew you'd all be looking at it. And one of the things that I did last night that I spent so much time on is I had to go all the way to the bottom, and I had to go to the very beginning pins on here that I pinned a long time ago, and I had to make the descriptions longer than I did originally because some of them were super short. Okay, see how long my descriptions are? Now, some people say don't write long descriptions because people will not be inclined to repin your pins. Okay, I'm willing to take the chance that I'll take that chance to be able to stick keywords and hashtags into my pin descriptions. Okay,
well,
so here's a pin description, and you can see. Can you see, Denise?
Yep.
Okay, notice what I have done in this pin description. What do you see in here, Denise?
I see hashtags, I see keywords, and I see what I would call a teaser for what they're going to learn if they click through.
Yes, exactly. And the first thing that you mentioned was hashtags. And one of the things that I was doing this morning at 2 o'clock in the morning was I was inserting hashtags into most of these pins because I really didn't know about hashtags, or I didn't know how to use them correctly when I created this board many months ago, but now I know how to use hashtags. So I went back and I just sort of, and that's the cool thing about Pinterest. If midstream you want to get great Google ranking for, let's say, some new keyword phrase, you can go onto these pins and you can edit every single one of them and include new keywords or new long tail keyword phrases that you're trying to rank for. You're not stuck with the description that you wrote a long, long time ago.
Yeah, it's very fluid. Or you can definitely edit and update. And obviously, when you've mentioned a couple of times when people have said, well, don't write long descriptions and don't write a long description that's more than 2 lines for your board. But the thing to note here is that it's working for you. So, in all cases, you really have to test what's going to work for you and your content. And in this case, the long descriptions are working because you're getting repins. So, for you in the audience, really, keep in mind that what everybody says isn't necessarily the right thing for you. So, test it out.
Exactly. Exactly. Yep. And look at this one, because this is important. And I started to include some of these last night as I was spiffing my board up for you. Look at this. I have read more about asking for a fact check. That tells them that if they click here, they're going to be able to read more about this particular tip. And another thing I wanted to point out is, for those of you who you might not have a blog, you can still do this, and you can lead people from these tips wherever you want to lead them. You can lead them over to your Twitter profile. Let's say you happen to be video inclined and you have a lot of videos over on YouTube. You can link all of these to YouTube videos. I just happened to do it at my blog because I wanted more blog traffic. And last night I came across one of the tips on here. I think it was about press releases. And I thought, you know what? I got a great video over on YouTube all about press releases. I think I'll put the YouTube video link within the description. And the links are live within these descriptions. People can just click on the link. It'll take them right over.
Excellent, excellent. I just want to take a moment here and share a little bit of feedback for you. I'm just going to post it up here, show you. Diane says, wow, fantastic tips. Thank you. So just want to get a little bit of our audience into the mix here, letting you know what's going on. Here's another one. Laura says, this is absolutely wonderful and useful information. My blog is geared toward tips, tricks, and advice for freelancers, and I can go crazy with this.
You bet.
That's what we want. We want you to go crazy. Okay, and so what else you got for us? I just wanted you to see that.
Let's see. Oh gosh, there's so many other things I wanted to talk about. Let me give you a tip on hashtags, because you need to know this. Hashtags are not live. They're not clickable within the board description, right up in the board description, and they're not clickable within your board title. So I wouldn't mess around with hashtags up here. I would just concentrate on keywords. The only place where you can click on hashtags so that they are clickable is in your description down here. Okay?
Okay, that's a good tip.
All right, couple other tips, because I don't want you to make this mistake. I almost made this mistake, and you don't want to make it. I want you to think long and hard about the name of your board. Don't just throw it together, because once you name your board, it shows up here in the link. And if you decide, you know what, I really don't like that name, I think I might want to call it something else, like 50 Tips for Online Visibility. Guess what happens? All those people who subscribe to this board are not going to be able to continue to see what you're pinning because the URL has changed.
Right. Good point. Do not rename your board, so think about it in advance.
Okay, now here's another one. So I'm sitting around, this was a couple of weeks ago, and I'm saying to myself, what's going to happen when I hit 50 tips? This board's going to be filled up, and so I went and I actually created 50 tips for free publicity part 2. Okay, it's a second board. And then I'm thinking to myself, wait a minute, wait a second. Who says I have to stop at 50 tips?
Exactly.
This is working for me. I have the #1 ranking on Google for the keyword phrase free publicity. I'm not stopping at 50. I'm going to keep going and just forget about the second board. I may even take the second board down because I don't have anything on it. I am just going to keep filling this board up with tip after tip after tip after tip after tip after tip.
And you've been doing this for so long that I bet you have way more than 50 tips that you can share.
Oh, yeah, and that's the great part of it, Denise. You are all about repurposing because I found you're one of the best people online who I follow, and you repurpose everything. None of these tips you don't have to sit down and think hard. Just go back to your blogs and see what blog posts you already have up there. Go back to your videos and see what videos you already have that you can excerpt tips from. From those of you who are professional speakers, pull your handouts out. You probably have lots and lots of stuff in your handouts that would work beautifully here. Okay, can I do a couple of window dressing tips, Denise? Do we have time for that?
You can do 2 more tips and then we'll wrap it up.
Okay, 2 more tips. When you are creating your PowerPoint slide, look at how simple the font is on this. I think it's Calibri. Look how very, very simple it is. I wouldn't use cursive, or I wouldn't use super fancy fonts that are really hard to read. Keep it as simple as possible, and that would be like Arial, Verdana, and Calibri. Those are about the only 3 I would use. I wouldn't use anything fancier. If you're going to do this, I've got white type on a dark background, because it's really easy to see. Don't do white type on a light orange background because it's not going to show up. Excellent. And let's see, what was the other tip I had for you? Oh, yes. Please, don't promote. Don't use these tips to promote. People don't want to read about your free commercial on Pinterest. The more helpful you can be with your tips, the more people are going to love you. Take them over to your blog and then promote to your heart's content over at your blog. But don't do it here from within these pins.
I agree with that. Use the tips to actually give valuable content and then move people, drive them over to your blog where you can get them on your email list or your blog update list, and then you can start sharing your offers. So if you want to come back to us, Joan, there's a couple of questions that I'd like to get to before we wrap this up, and we'll go from there, okay?
Go
ahead. If you want to put yourself back on the while I go to some questions.
Okay.
First of all, I have a question from Janet. She asks, how often do you post?
Oh, I'm glad you asked that question. First of all, let me figure out how to get back here. This may not work. No, that's not that one. Oh, man, don't you love technology?
Click on the green screen share button at the top.
I don't see the green. Oh, wait a second. Okay, I know where I am. I think I know where I am. Okay.
Remember, folks, this is an adventure.
You see me?
There you are. Okay.
I have to admit to all of you up front, I despise technology. I hate technology. I'm a non-techie. I don't have a technical bone in my body, but yet I'm able to pull this off. So you want to keep it really simple. Janet, what happened to me several months ago was really frustrating. Every time I tried to put a new pin on this board, I got a 404 error message from Pinterest. It would not let me pin. I tried it for multiple different computers. I used different web browsers. It would not pin. And I was so upset because I thought, I can't have this board die. So I would come back periodically, and I kept getting error messages. I had to try to keep testing it for about 2 months before Pinterest, the bug, whatever it was in Pinterest, the bug just disappeared, and I was able to post again. I try to post on here, and I don't do it regularly, maybe every couple of weeks, and that's not real often when you stop and think about it.
But every time you do post one, it triggers the Google indexing, so you get all that good Google juice. Okay, yes. So thank you, Janet, for that. Also, then, here's a good question. It's not directly related, but it's a good one to bring up. Jerry asks, what about the 80-20 rule about how much of your own material versus other people's stuff, repins, etc.?
Okay.
How do you feel about that?
I absolutely agree with that. And I will also tell you that I follow that rule on most of the other social media sites that I'm on. But for this particular board, okay, this is all my content, because remember what I'm doing with this? I'm cross-promoting back to my other content, and I don't really think people care on this particular board that it's not somebody else's, that I'm not sharing Denise Wakeman's content. I mean, I share enough of Denise's stuff on other sites. So all of this stuff is strictly mine. And on other boards, yeah, I'll share other people's stuff, but on this one, this is all mine, because I have a strategy devised on how to make this board work for me, and it's working, and I'm not going to mess with it.
Right. And the thing is, it really depends on what your purpose is for a board. So generally, people have multiple boards. On a board like this, well, yes, you have a very specific intent for it, and that is to provide publicity tips that link back to your blog. And that's okay to have it only be your stuff, because probably on some other board you're sharing all kinds of other things. So it really depends on the purpose of the board, whether you're sharing or just focused on your own thing. So
that's
I mean,
right.
you could have basically this is like a board for your own blog posts, and that's totally cool to do, in my opinion.
Absolutely. And I want to slip in another factoid that I forgot to tell you, because I had this question when I started doing it. A lot of people are going to ask the question, what size is each image that you pin? And I'm pretty sure it's 230 by 370 pixels. That's
okay.
How big to make when you're in, however you do it in Photoshop or wherever, that's how big each one should be. And the cool thing about this is, once you have your first PowerPoint slide made, you don't have to start from scratch on your second slide. You just go over to the first slide, hit Save As, and you have a brand new slide, and you just, type the copy again, and bing, bang, boom, you rinse and repeat, and you're done.
Exactly. Okay. Here's another question, and then we're going to have to make it, then we're going to have to wrap up, because I always say these are 30 minutes, and then they always go longer. I'm not as disciplined as some of the fabulous Hangout hosts there are out there. So Ellen asked, Joan, do you have a business Pinterest account versus a personal account?
Ellen, I have a question for you. What is a Pinterest business account? The answer is no. No, I don't.
Yeah, Pinterest allows you to have business accounts now, and you can verify it as your business, and that gives you some analytics. So you can find information about that and help if anybody's interested in doing that, and it allows you to verify your account.
Okay, thank you, Ellen.
Yes, good question, Ellen. We appreciate that. And okay, so I just want to make sure we haven't missed anyone. There are other questions, but we need to wrap this up now. And what I'd like to invite you all to do is definitely go visit Joan's Pinterest board, and she'll post that link in the comments below, won't you, Joan?
Yes, I will.
Okay. And of course, you're welcome to post your own Pinterest links in the comments also, so we can all check you out. And if you do have any additional questions, be sure to tag Joan in the comments so she knows that you're asking her a question and she gets a notification about it. It's plus Joan Stewart, and you should also circle Joan as well. Put her into a circle for PR, social media, online marketing. If you have circles around those subjects, definitely circle Joan and follow her and what she's doing, because she's a pro. She's an expert at this media thing, and we all need a little bit of PR and media training now and then, and she's the go-to gal for that. So Joan, I want to thank you so much for being here with me today. This was a great topic, and I'm really glad you contacted me and suggested it. It's been a great hangout.
I have another. Can I ask you? Can I make a special request for another hangout? I'd love to see you do.
Okay.
How to keep your images organized on your hard drive. Mine are an absolute nightmare. They're just a nightmare. I just sort of throw everything into one folder, and I got, like 3,000 images in one folder. Now what do I do with this giant mess?
That sounds like somebody else is going to have to do that hangout, because mine aren't that well organized, although I do have folders for things, but it's one of those things that as you're taking more and more pictures, now with our smartphones, we have this ability to create images like crazy, and they just what do you do with them all? So that's a good topic, and I'll definitely consider that one. So Joan, thank you so much for joining me. Everyone out there in Hangout land, or if you're watching on YouTube, or if you're watching the replay, thank you so much for being with us here today. You can get notification when the blog post is up with some show notes, and also notice of future Hangouts. I do them about once a month, maybe twice a month sometimes. You can go to adventuresinvisibility.com to get on the early notification list. And I hope to see you on the next Hangout. Take care.
Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.